Good morning, everyone. My name is John Heerdink, and welcome to our Tribe Public CEO presentation event titled From FDA Wins to Scaling Manufacturing, What Investors Should Watch. This presentation will be co-hosted by Jeb Besser, CEO of Modular Medical, trades on the NASDAQ MODD, ticker symbol, and is targeted, this whole program is targeted for about 30 minutes today in total. Quickly, Modular Medical is a leader in innovative uh, patient-centric insulin delivery. Recently announced on April 9th, just of this recent month, I guess, happy May Day, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, they received clearance for its next generation pivot tubeless insulin patch pump, which is targeting this $3 billion almost pumper market. As many of you know, I am the managing member of Tribe Public. Our website is tribepublic.com, tribepublic.com. Members from 31 plus countries and all 50 states have joined Tribe Public freely to gain direct corporate access to leaders and experts that they care about via our webinar events and via 41 event venue sites located across the U.S. where we host regular in-person lunch and dinner and speaking engagements with local tribe members. Tribe members, furthermore, are invited to submit names of experts and leaders of industry via what we call our free wish list process at our website, where it's simply where you add names of the companies and experts, subjects that span across all sectors and subject matters that you care about and you want to learn more about. And we do our best to create these events. Please note that I'm also the managing director of Vista Partners LLC, a registered investment advisory in California, and its website is vistapglobal.com. Uh, we have a host of content that's being created every day there about NVIDIA on down to small companies that you never heard of on the A round and everything in between, like Modular Medical. Please review both sets of disclaimers at each site and know that I'm currently a shareholder and an advisor to Modular Medical, our presenter today. I would also like to thank you all for participating and for all your questions that you already submitted, and remind that you may be able to send more questions via the Zoom chat feature during this event, and we'll do our best to get these covered via the presentation and or the Q&A session at the end of this presentation that Jeb's going to have today, share with us today. Thank you from across the world, truly, that have come in for this event. We've got folks from Dubai, from London, from Asia. We have and all across the USA. And really appreciate your participation and look forward to hearing from you. And any thoughts, questions you have after this too, just ping me at john@tribepublic.com. Or if you have my number, just ping me as well. And I'm happy to share my thoughts. Um, Jeb, because there are folks on here that are new to the tribe as well, would you mind, and they have not met you before, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and then get into your presentation today and give us an update?
Sure, John. Thanks for the introduction and thanks for having me on today. So I'm Jeb Besser. I'm the CEO of Modular Medical. I've been the CEO since February of 2022. Although Manchester, the fund that I also run, has been involved since 2017. Wow, how time flies. And so I serve as CEO. And all my compensation is equity based. I make $1 as CEO, so I'm incented to do whatever is best for the shareholders and not stay for the luxurious benefits and the salary. With that being said, there's a lot, while I might be a uncompensated member of the management team, we have an extensive, very experienced team, including Paul DePerna, who founded Tandem Diabetes, which was the last major successful entrant into the insulin pump space. And we have, as of now, a cleared product that we're planning to take to market, which is a tubeless insulin pump. The only cleared tubeless insulin pump besides the insulin Omnipod that is going to be available for sale in the U.S. market in the next year. And we think the orientation of our pump is different than what Insulet has done, and that we're targeting a different group of patients who have rejected the Omnipod for one reason or another. and are looking for something else. And we think that initial market is a $3 billion unmet market need just in the United States, and with a substantial opportunity overseas as well. We're listed on the NASDAQ under MODD, and we trade every day. So for those of you who are new to this story, I just want to level set us before I get into specific questions about, or a specific characterization of how we plan to go to market with the product, so you understand A, why we think there's an opportunity in the space, and B, what makes our product different and interesting to people who have so far rejected pumping. So if you don't know what an insulin pump is, an insulin pump delivers insulin, and it does two things for you that needles never can give you. One is a slow basal drip personalized to you all day long, which delivers 2/3 of the insulin you're going to get. This is how a person without diabetes pancreas works, and it keeps you closer to baseline. If you've heard this before, you already know what this means. The closer you are to baseline, the less long-term damage you get in your cardiovascular system, the less diabetic foot ulcers, the less other negative side effects, the neuropathy from having out of control diabetes, from having these wild excursions. And if you have that slow drip all day long, you're very unlikely to have an event that would cause you to be hospitalized. Also, a pump gives you the ability to bolus yourself around a meal by pushing a button, either on your phone or on your device. And we know, just pure human nature, if you can discreetly push a button instead of excusing yourself and stabbing yourself in the bathroom with a needle, you're going to be much more likely to do it in smaller amounts and in greater frequency. And so that's 90% of the clinical benefit of what an insulin pump gives you. And that's what our product gives you, even though we have not yet implemented an automated insulin delivery algorithm on our device. Although it is technically capable of doing so, and we plan to introduce an AID for a user who wants that capability late this year. How big is the pump market? Well, pump market's quite large, but only 20% of the people between type 1 and type 2 who could benefit from being on an insulin pump have adopted them, even though they've been on the market since approximately the year 2000. So current pumps do a very good job of delivering insulin and delivering good clinical outcomes, because they're so complex, so costly, and so cumbersome, have had issues with adoption. And if you've heard this before, you know my counterexample to, well, people just won't wear anything is CGMs are more than 4 times as penetrated as pumps. So in order to get this new group of people to adopt, you have to do something different. And we've done something fundamentally different. So this is a picture of the product that the FDA cleared. I'm going to hold it up though, because we're on screen, so it's better to see it. So this is your 90-day controller. So this lasts for 90 days and contains all the expensive electronics that you need to make the pump work. It has a button on it, so you don't need a cell phone to operate it if your cell phone runs out of power, or you simply are in a place where you don't want to carry it. And this is the 3-day cartridge that you fill up with insulin and then attach like so after it's filled up. Push them together to form the connection. Now it's ready to be primed and ready to install on your body. As you can see, no tube. And then you take this set, which lasts for 3 days, lift the plastic out where the cartridge was. You take your inserter, which lasts for a year. You put it on top of the pad here. Click. I'm not actually going to do it, but you lift it off and that automatically peels the adhesive, which means that this is ready to be applied. You put it on your arm or your abdomen, you fire it in, and then this is on your body. And there's a soft cannula, if you can see it, right there, and a steel needle as well. You pinch the 2 wings here. That automatically withdraws the steel needle so it can be thrown away sharp safe in any trash. And then you're left with this. You take the filled pump, you put the feed in here, and you click it on, and you are ready to deliver insulin. So this means that we're reusing the most expensive electronics for 90 days. So we're getting 30 times the life out of them as insulin is, and we believe that we will get 60 times by the end of the year with a 180-day label with no changes to the product. And our consumable, unlike Insulet's, which is 75 pieces, including system on a chip, Bluetooth, NFC, 3 proprietary batteries, and the whole pumping mechanism is one 2032 coin cell lithium battery and 15 plastic parts that are molded. So we think it's an elegant solution, and because we've completely reinvented the way that you pump insulin, we can hold 3 mLs, and an Omnipod can only hold 2. So for all those people that require a lot more insulin, we might be the only solution that they can adopt economically. We also, because we only have 6 configurations, we're a product that we believe you can learn in less than an hour, and we're removable. So if you want to take a break, you can take it off. And if you're on the smaller side and you don't want to waste a lot of insulin, another feature of our product is that it has a 30-unit minimum fill. So whereas an Omnipod is at 80. So if you don't need as much insulin to get through 3 days, we can help you with that as well. You never need to charge it. The battery comes with the consumable. And so it's a greener, elegant solution for someone who just wants to get most of the benefit of a pump and not spend a lot of time managing it or learning it. But with all the hardware, we have latest gen Bluetooth, we have latest gen NFC, we have a very advanced processor that we think can handle any advanced insulin delivery algorithm on the market. So this could be a key component of someone's armamentarium if they wanted to make this a part of a larger portfolio, or if we wanted to take this in the direction of going into the heart of the market. But right now, we're a small company without huge economic resources. We want to go where everyone else isn't, to take users that we don't have to compete with them for based on our unique features. And that's what we're going to do. A lot of people have asked me, what's next? What are you going to do now that you're cleared? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to finish the manufacturing validation, which can only be papered once we got the clearance. So that's underway, and that's something we should achieve this month. And then we're going to do what we never did with Mod 1, which is put this on people in a commercial setting as soon as possible. Because when you get cleared with an insulin pump, it's never had broad-based exposure because the FDA won't allow you to do clinical trials other than a human factors study before you get cleared. We're going to deploy this by the end of this quarter, so in June, in select locations for a limited commercial deployment. And then as reimbursement kicks in, first, because we're going to be on the pharmacy benefit. And so the PBM contracts generally start at the beginning of the quarter. So starting July 1st, sometime in the second half of the year, we will introduce this in 5 metropolitan statistical areas, which is just basically a part or all of a metro area where we think that there are a lot of almost pumpers. And almost pumpers, remember, would be a lot of diabetes, a lot of multiple daily injectors, some willingness to adopt technology as evidenced by the adoption of other products, a relatively concentrated prescriber base, so we can reach it with a very small number of feet on the street, and digitally, if at all possible, and prove to the market that on a same-store sales basis, we can reach these almost pumpers and acquire them at a higher rate and at a much lower cost than people ever have been able to in this space. So we think it's an exciting time for us. There are definitely places where this product is going to do well initially and places where it won't, right? Like I used to live at downtown Boston, and I don't think I would launch this in that market. 1, because of who reimburses you there. 2, because you're 5 minutes from Mass General Hospital. And, I think an endo practice there probably has a lot of people on pump. There are other places in the United States where that is not true. And that represent much better targets for us, both in terms of reimbursement and ability to reach customers cheaply. And look, I will still stand by the statement that I've made. If you've ever watched me do one of these webinars before, I have never met a clinician, endocrinologist, or diabetes educator who can't name 10 people they see on a regular basis who they think this product would be a better fit for than anything else that's on the market today. So it's an exciting time for us. And it's an exciting time both in terms of proving out the demand and the commercialization, but also, frankly, as the only other patch on the market in an environment where 70% of the new pump starts today are patch, which means insulin, which means the other major players are all splitting 30% of the pot. Any one of them would have a strong commercial rationale to want to have this in the bag of their large 100+ person sales force. So, look, I think from a cost to capital perspective, as I've always said, the right thing for the shareholders is for us to do what's best, right? From a return perspective, and we're going to see what options are out there now that we're cleared. In general, no one cares until you can prove that you're cleared. Getting a tubeless patch cleared is hard. And right now, our current line in Mexico can support, without any incremental investment or changes, 6,000 concurrent users, which at current reimbursement is 24 to 28 million in reps. That's not to say that's what we're going to do. That's to say that's what its potential is without any changes or further investment. So I've talked a lot, but I know there are a lot of questions. So John, let's get into the questions now that I think I've kind of level set everyone on kind of what we're thinking in terms of the space right now. Excuse me.
Yes, thank you, Jeb. It's exciting to see that you were able to get the clearance, and there's been some questions around the experience that your team has had in launching a product, and actually, back to Paul DeParma, right? That brought the original insulin pump to the market. How does that empower you? And what have you hired others recently that will help you through this whole launch process to get into the market?
So I think our plan in terms of those initial 5 markets is let's keep it small enough that we can manage it given our existing team. Like our commercial team right now is 4 people. Got an excellent director of marketing, Pat Pavlik, who came from Sanofi and has been doing a great job for us. We've got Mark Brady, who's done reimbursement for 2 other companies in the diabetes space on the device side. Who's doing an excellent job for us. We've got Melissa Christie, who has also successfully launched products and is also very experienced in managing a contract sales organization. And I think in terms of managing our expenses and being able to scale quickly if things start to go well, our plan is to partner with a CSO in those initial 5 markets, and she will manage that. And our head of distribution, Chris Dabro, ran national distribution for Tandem. So from a logistics standpoint, we have a very experienced team. So I think that, for the initial 5 markets, I think that's where we're going to start. I think, to date, every dollar that we've spent has been driving us towards this moment of having a cleared tubeless patch that appeals to both almost pumpers and is an enabling platform for what anyone else would want to do with it. And now it's time. But now, if we start spending, if I said now I'm going to raise $100 million and build a 100-person sales force, that's duplicative of what a lot of other people have. So we're going to see what's out there from what do we need to prove from a commercial execution standpoint initially, what hybrid options are open for us in terms of partnering and putting some version of this in someone else's bag, if that's appropriate, or, is this an asset that truly belongs somewhere else? And the answer is we don't know the answer to that because the clearance has happened too recent. We're going to see.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. As far as here's a couple more questions that just came in. One is, could you use additional introductions to smaller PBMs?
Well, I think it's incumbent on it. Well, we're looking at the regions where we're going to get the best coverage, right out of the gate. So we've applied to be in the compendia, which we successfully got MODD 1 into just as an experiment to see how it would go. It takes about 30 days after you submit to the compendia to get it to fully propagate throughout the system. So you don't want to launch before that because the last thing you want is to go in and have a doctor say, I can't even find this in the compendia, right? Because we're 100% going to be pharmaceutical benefit. So, which patients prefer, doctors prefer, et cetera. So we want to make sure that happens before we start putting this out there in any real way. And then a lot of these PBM contracts start at the beginning of a quarter. So we're waiting for that. In terms of moving things faster, we're waiting for that because obviously the next, you don't want to start too early, right? If we didn't get the clearance when we did. Um, as far as smaller PBMs, but Mark has an excellent network. We've all got contacts. If there are members who have a great contact or great insight and they want to help, obviously we're all ears.
Yeah. Well, I know I attended last, I believe it was August when I went to ADAC. Maybe, no, was it PDAC? I get the
You're
acronym.
the ADCES, the American
Yeah.
Diabetes Educator Conference. Yes.
Yeah, that was exciting, and it really opened my eyes to the opportunity where, maybe you could speak to that and to where what you did there to help, awaken and or excite that universe that goes there. And it was really, and all of the competitors were there. It was a great insight. And I listened to a number of these folks that were in there asking the questions and swarming your booth to understand the pivot before the pivot was cleared, obviously, since and how excited they were and why. Can you speak to that and what you did there?
Oh, well, so the American Diabetes Educator Conference is the biggest conference in the country for diabetes educators, and educators are the ones who actually have to teach people how to use these products. And so they're at the business end of the complexity and the cost and the cumbersome nature of the existing products. And they understand why people like an Omnipod, but they also understand users who don't need or want an Omnipod because of some of the features that it has. And we've tried to address as many of those concerns as we can in our product. They were excited about having another option. Another
What's an
option.
I'm sorry to
Sorry.
interrupt, but one of the things that stuck out in my mind was the reduced amount of training that is needed for your product versus what's on the market today, and how that might really give you an advantage to really launch it on a quick basis once
Well,
is
John,
things.
it's certainly true that our training burden is less than other products because we have less features to train you on. And as it turns out, there's a great study out of Germany that shows that 45% of current pump users don't use any of the features that we aren't giving you. So if half the current pump users today aren't using the features that the overly complex features that are available in the other products, the next group of people to adopt might not care about them at all and can still get a great clinical outcome. But the other thing about having the training time be more manageable and having the product be easier to understand is that to date, almost all the training is pushed back to the manufacturer because the clinician doesn't want to take it on because there isn't enough reimbursement. We think that given our much shorter time, we might be able to incent the clinician to do the training themselves because there just isn't that much that's going to come back and bite them. Also, at that conference, we debuted our gamification of gamification training tool, which is not designed to replace what the educators are doing, but it's designed to make people familiar with the product in advance so that the training can be even more smooth. So that when you open the box up, it isn't the first time you've seen the components. The conversation is more, hey, I sent you this QR code. You played this game for a few minutes. Now you understand kind of what the system is about. Now let's put it on for real. And that's already going to shorten the conversation and help you screen out. I mean, if someone's not willing to play the game for 10 minutes, this might not be the right product for them anyway. And that's also useful for a clinician as a negative screen. So, I mean, that was a great conference for us. I think we had more traffic at our booth than anyone else, despite certainly not spending the most money on advertising or having the biggest booth.
Yeah. Well, the advantage that I have over the folks that weren't there was that I actually sat in the booth and listened to the conversations grow. And I actually took that test. The test was super easy and quick to for even a guy that doesn't have diabetes. I got it in seconds, and I'm not playing video games every day. It was very simple. At the same time, I heard these clinicians confirm that they have patients waiting for this product. That was exciting, and the buzz around that and their excitement in that booth was really telling to me, and it really got me excited about what you're working on and excited about this product getting to market again. We're not talking about a small percentage of the patients not that are electing to go on, not electing to go on, and family members throughout time that have lost limbs because they haven't managed their diabetes well. I didn't understand it as a kid. I saw that. I've seen it. I've seen it today, and it's there needs to be a product on there to fill this gap, and I'm hoping to see that this evolves into the market in a great way to answer at least some of that percentage to help, right? These almost pumpers turn into a better managed diabetes patient at the end of the day. And that excited me when I saw it come from them who see these patients every day and they're frustrated. They know they won't go on these other pumps, and that they're going to have an option and that's affordable and that's manageable that they can easily adopt, in their words. And so that was telling to me, and that was an advantage that I have in understanding this product.
Well,
Switching gears a little bit. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
well, let's just finish up that thought because I mean, anticipating some obvious questions here, our plan is to use the same code as Insulet with with an appropriate rebate, because our labeling is the same as Tandem's. Our plan is to be on the pharmaceutical benefit. When people compare us to an Omnipod in volume, even though we hold 3 mLs, we're actually the same volume and we weigh 10% less. And in addition to being removable and all the other features. So, I think we do have some significant advantages, and I can see why. And we also had a seminar at the conference where more than 200 people chose to take time out of their evening to attend to hear about this product. So I do think the demand is real and the interest is very real. And we're gonna be able to meet some of that very, very quickly. It's not like we can't make these yet.
Okay, thank you. Switching gears, because we got a lot of folks that are also financial oriented that are on this call. A couple of the things is, one is you've had a recent raise. You have a share count that's been reduced. Can you give us a little bit of a picture of how this has set you up for future success?
Yeah, I think let's just pull up the cap slide just so people know where to. So in terms of future success, I mean, obviously we did what we had to do after the FDA didn't clear us when we thought that they would early in Q1. And as a result of that, I can't say that I was thrilled at the price of the raise, but we got it done, and we guided then that we would get the clearance round about the end of Q1, and we did in fact deliver on that. So we've done a reverse split so that we have enough authorized shares to function. We continue to have insider ownership, and we have runway well into Q3 now, with the $3 million raise, pure common raise that we did just a couple weeks ago. So I think as people see that we're delivering, that we're putting this on people, that we're starting to get early signs of traction, launch our website, finish up manufacturing, et cetera, the risks here, aside from pure commercial execution and funding it, are going to start to fall away. And we hope that the market starts to appreciate that, because obviously there's a little bit of a difference between Insulet's $30 billion market cap and our $25 million market cap. And I'll happily meet them in the middle.
For sure. Speaking of that, in this rollout, when do you, I guess, how many can physicians and patients outside the initial 5 MSAs have access to the pivot pump at some point, or when would that likely be?
I think we're going to have a distributor who might be able to meet that demand, but we're still figuring out the details of that. Our initial, right at the beginning, and when I'm talking like June, before most of these PBM contracts kick in, I think we're going to go to a few select clinicians who are going to give us, 10 to 20 patients each, and have them start to give us initial feedback on the experience. And they'll be commercial customers, but we'll basically subsidize them to some extent, because a lot of the reimbursement will still be in the process of being turned on, but they will be paying customers. And we'll probably do that at a location that's near our headquarters so that, as we find things out in real time, we can tweak any minor features that need to be adjusted in order to ensure the best possible experience as we go broader.
Okay. Um, Speaking of success, what is your initial manufacturing capacity and how quickly can you expand that at demand if it grows?
Okay, so our initial manufacturing capacity is our line in Mexico at Philips can do 6,000 concurrent patients. And at current reimbursement, less rebate, that equates to about 24 to 28 million in revs ish if it was fully populated. Obviously, if you're doing a couple docks near our headquarters, it's not going to be fully populated, so you're going to have initial absorbed overhead costs, et cetera, et cetera. But if things seem to be going well as we go into our MSAs, we're going to think long and hard about how fast we expand this, because that's the point of having a flexible, scalable strategy and already having the capacity in place to meet demand. And then we can add units of 6,000 patients in about 10 months at the cost of about $1.5 million in capex, up until 30,000 users, which by the way would be, call it 130, 150 million in revs at current reimbursement.
Is it
It's because we already invested in the supply chain, in the multi-cavity molding, et cetera. That was the point of our raise, early in the spring of last year, was to make sure that the supply chain was in place so that we could just be scaling up, manufacturing 101 on the
okay?
device. And then obviously we have with enough time, excuse me, we already have a plan in place to take this to semi-automated manufacturing, which takes a lot of cost out and allows us even more throughput.
Okay.
But in the near term, we can go up in 6,000 patient increments.
And can you speak to gross margins with the current look? And at the same time, is there any visibility that you can afford us that as revenues ramp, that crosses over to profitability as at a stage based on what you know today?
So I can't really comment on profitability right now. Obviously, we run a pretty lean organization, and if we can in fact acquire patients at a much lower cost than our competitors, and the market um, recognizes our opportunity and starts to afford us a lower cost of capital, we want to be aggressive in terms of scaling up. At the same time, look, when you have a 6,000 patient line, and in the early days when you don't have a lot of patients, you've got all the absorbed overhead costs. You've got you just have a lot of unoptimized things. So we want to get the best cure is volume, but you know, until our potential shareholders give for what we've got here, I think the dilution to current shareholders from trying to run a national launch just doesn't make sense. Let's figure out exactly what our selling technique is that's most effective and how many reps we actually need versus digital versus natural pull from educators, etc. And then run hard after what works later in the year. That's kind of a non-answer, but I would just say, if you're expecting great margins on, a 30 or 40 patient base in June, don't, because it's just absorbed overhead. We'll just kill that. We will obviously the best thing for fixing our margins, and because our margins at scale should be very, very good. We continue to believe that our cost of goods at scale is significantly less than Insulet's, because we reuse the key componentry, and that we think that we pass Insulet in terms of cost of goods at something like 45 or 50,000 users, and that's when they have 600,000 plus. So, you know, I'd love to be able to scale the manufacturing right now, but we've got to prove some demand first.
That's fair. That's fair, Jim. Uh, since we're over the time that we allotted for this, we had so many questions. One of the things I'm going to beg for you is to come back on a relatively near basis to
Yeah.
address the balance. But a couple of quick questions. Can you, or one quick thing, can you throw out sort of near-term milestones? Sort of summarize that for us as where you, what we can see as you're making progress against your goals here, and that where the market too that's around us that might see what this is what they need to see to come into the market, possibly to knock on your door, maybe a combination of those things.
So I'd say the first thing you can look for is later this month, we'll debut a new website. Don't take the state of our current website as how things are going to look on a go-forward basis. Going to launch the new website later this month in advance of putting commercial customers out there. You're going to see obviously first commercial customers in June, and you're going to see the manufacturing validation late this month come through, and you're going to see more press, more attention, and us identify where we're going to launch initially come Q3.
Okay.
And then obviously we're going to put the product on people. We're going to broaden where we're deploying this as the year goes along. And as we start to see traction and learn what we're dealing with.
Got it. That makes sense. Well, Jeb, I want to thank you for coming on today, and I again apologize. We didn't get to all of the questions. There's an extraordinary amount of questions that have come across from the world. We'll get to those, and I think it would make sense after you get this launched at the website and maybe something else that comes out, and we quickly jump back on here. I want to remind everybody that I'll be taking this. There'll be a video published at the Tribe YouTube channel. So if you missed anything, you want to share this with anyone else, you can go there probably later today. I'll get that published. Know that'll be there as we move forward. And of course, reach out to me if any other questions that you really want to know, and we'll see if we can follow up with Jeb on it on our next event. Mind you that we're hosting these around the country, and as we move forward, I'd love to get Jeb back out there to one of the tribe cities. We're at 41 events venues now, so express your interest in learning more and to meeting Jeb through the wish list process or directly to me at john@tribepublic.com. Jeb, congratulations on getting the clearance. I know it's been a hard road that you've had to go down, but now you're getting on the backside of this, and I'm excited to see what you're going to be able to produce over the next few months and years to come, and excited about Modular Medical and what you're offering in this diabetes universe. But thanks again for taking the time today, and look forward to following up with you soon.
Thanks, John, and thanks to everyone who logged in and listened. Lots more to come. Appreciate it.